This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
How would you like to get more customers, make more profits, and have bigger breakthroughs? Get Doberman Dan's profit-boosting breakthroughs. Normally, this would cost you $98 per month, but right now, for listening to this show, he's giving you a free copy of his Doberman Dan letter. All you have to do is go to DobermanDan.com and sign up to get your free copy now.
Prepare yourself for the Uncensored. Nothing held back. No BS reality of how business and life really work. Doberman Dan is off the chain.
A woman comes home and tells her husband, she says, "Remember those headaches I've been having all these years? Well, they're gone." And the husband says, "You're kidding. You're not having any more headaches. What happened?" And the wife replies, "Well, my friend referred me to this hypnotist. And here's what he told me to do. He told me to stand in front of a mirror and stare at myself and repeat, 'I do not have a headache. I do not have a headache. I do not have a headache.' And it's a miracle. It worked. The headaches are all gone." And so her husband tells her, "Well, that's just wonderful." And his wife says, "Well, you haven't exactly been really a ball of fire in the bedroom these past few years. You could use some help in that department. So why don't you go see the same hypnotist and see if he can do something for you?" So, the guy agrees that he's going to try it. And after the first appointment, he comes home, he barges in the door, rips all his clothes off, picks up his wife, carries her into the bedroom. He puts her on the bed and says, "Don't move. I'll be right back." And he goes in the bathroom and he comes back just a few minutes later, jumps into bed, and they make this wild, passionate love like never before, like back when they were newlyweds. And his wife says, "Oh my gosh, that was awesome." And the husband says, "Yeah, don't move. I'll be right back." So he goes back to the bathroom, comes back in a couple minutes, and all of a sudden, they're into round two, this crazy, passionate, wild lovemaking. And his wife sits up in bed and her head is just spinning. And she's like, "My God, this is incredible." And he says, "Don't move. I'll be right back." And so he goes right back into the bathroom. But this time, his wife is wondering what the heck is going on. So she sneaks in behind him in the bathroom and she sees him standing in front of the mirror and he's saying, "She's not my wife. She's not my wife. She's not my wife."
Nice.
By the way, I didn't run that one by the Colombiana. I don't think she'd be amused.
Nice.
So that's my setup. We're talking about the most successful hypnotist in the world. So what was the guy you mentioned on the last episode when I told you I was going to be talking about hypnotism?
Silver.
Yeah. Who is Marshall Silver?
He's more of a marketer and a hypnotist. He does like those stage acts where he takes on 20 people and has them doing weird stuff, barking like dogs and doing silly stuff, and then he sells you his program.
Oh, man, that'd be fun to see. So I'll give you him. I'll give you Marshall Silver. I'll give any hypnotist throughout history, dead or alive. Did Houdini do hypnotism stuff?
I don't know.
Whatever. Whoever the best of the best has been, dead or alive, I'll give you all those. And I can trump all of those. And it's a hypnotist that all of us are familiar with, because the best hypnotist in the world, it's this oblong box that's probably in the corner of your room or mounted on the wall that tells people what to believe. Take a wild guess at what that box is, Jonathan.
Well, it sounds like it's your flat screen television.
Absolutely. Yes, the television. The television, the reason I say it's the most successful hypnotist in the world is because it has done an amazing thing. It has convinced just about every person in the world that they are free, when in fact, they are inside of a prison cell. The television has just hypnotized them so well that they can't even see the prison bars. So It's in every home. Yeah, this goes for the internet too. Same damn thing. You might not realize it, but your mind has been shaped and is being shaped and molded like a pliable lump of clay every time you turn on the one-eyed monster. Though I should explain that metaphor. One-eyed monster being the television, not a part of the male anatomy.
No.
So here's the science behind this. And thanks to you, Jonathan, you got me thinking about this with a book you gave me. You remember that book, the Tavistock Institute?
Yeah, that was a good one. In particular, that chapter about the television.
So here's the thing about TV. When you watch TV, the right hemisphere of your brain is twice as active as the left hemisphere, which that alone is just a neurological anomaly. So the crossover from left to right, that releases a surge of basically your body's natural opiates or endorphins, that is, which includes beta endorphins. And endorphins are structurally identical to opium and all its derivatives, okay? Morphine, codeine, heroin, etc. All the synthetic heroin like hydrocodone, oxycodone, all that stuff. So structurally identical. In other words, TV is basically a high-tech drug delivery system. And you feel its effects. So another effect of watching TV is that it shuts down the higher brain regions, such like the midbrain and the neocortex, they're shut down, and it shifts most of the activity to the limbic system, which is your lower brain region, or as some people are fond of calling it, the reptile brain, the lizard brain, which is that part of your brain which is it doesn't think logically, it's just fight or flight. And so your lizard brain can't distinguish reality from fabricated images like you see on TV. That's a job performed by the neocortex. But the neocortex is shut down and most of the processing is shunted to the lizard brain when you watch television. So all of a sudden, your brain is now being run by the lizard part of your brain, the lower brain functions, and it's reacting to what's on TV as if it were real. So and all of a sudden, your brain and your body is releasing the appropriate hormones. You're watching a shootout, okay? Your body is feeling the effects as if you were in the actual shootout. So here's another scary thing. Studies have shown that in the long run, when there's too much activity in the lower brain, the higher brain regions start to atrophy. Now, you may not have known all this stuff, but I guarantee you the people who brainwash you on a daily basis, they know it because this is their tool of choice. I mean, what better tool could you have to brainwash an entire population than something that feeds them heroin, shuts down the higher brain functions, and makes their brain function almost exclusively with the limbic system, the lower brain functions? Are you feeling me on this, Jonathan?
Absolutely. It's actually the Matrix, right? Because you're watching it and you believe you're living it.
That's right. You believe you're living it. And so here's what I've been thinking about. With your higher brain regions shut down and now the lizard brain fully activated and you under the influence of opiates, what is the overreaching theme or themes presented by almost every damn thing you watch on TV? I came up with a few, and I'll be anxious to hear your take on it too. So here's the one that I see everywhere, from the news to kids' programs to everything. And that is, the world is a dangerous place.
True.
So another one I see all the time, collectivism, not individualism.
Oh, God.
That, Marxists, basically Marxist, if we want to sum it up, Marxist philosophy. Here's one, the cavalry riding in to save you. So the government is going to save you. Don't take responsibility for your own life. My God, don't do that. No need to do that. The cavalry is going to come in and save you. Let me see some other overarching themes I see in every program, movie, the news. Obey.
Obey. That's a big one.
Submit. Consume. Buy. Don't question authority. stay asleep, no independent thought. Here's one. This is your God. And that's money, talking about money. In fact, all those things that Nada saw when he put on the glasses in the movie They Live. You've seen that flick, right?
Yeah, we talked about it on one of the shows.
So the guy who produced that, forget his name. Is it John Hughes? The guy who had all those big 80s movies hits?
Yeah, I think so.
They interviewed him last year on the 25th anniversary of that movie They Live. They interviewed him and he said, that movie is not fiction. That's a documentary. And so all those things that John Nada saw, people were just going to have to watch that movie, Jonathan. When Nada put on the glasses and saw all those subliminal messages, obey, submit, consume, reproduce, don't question authority, no independent thoughts, stay asleep, this is your God on the money. Those are all the overarching, consistent themes I'm seeing in every single television program, movie, etc. Hell, most of the music too. What other ones am I missing? Whatever stuff do you pick up on from TV?
Well, I try to stay away from it. I prefer to read, and I even read the newspaper. Silly me. But that really sums it up. It's really what I think is going on out there, and maybe I'm crazy, maybe I should put on a tinfoil hat, is that they are pushing us into the new world order, and they want us to have one overarching government of elites who tell us all what to do, and we should sit there like little sniveling pieces of crap with our hands out waiting for them to give us crumbs, because that way when they give us crumbs, we eat our crumbs happily and we're grateful to have them instead of rising up and getting what is ours.
Well, to create that society, you have to have people who can't think for themselves.
Enter the TV.
So
the propaganda machine.
Absolutely. The propaganda machine, the television, and the government-sponsored youth indoctrination camps, those do a really damn good job of producing generations of people who can no longer think for themselves. They believe that the thoughts in their head are theirs, but they're not.
They're being programmed.
They were deliberately they were programmed. Isn't it interesting that they call television programming?
Right. They're programming us. I think it was that book, the Tavistock Institute, where they talk about Sesame Street and how they're programming kids from that little. Bro, I don't know if we talked about this, but Rachel and I were looking at daycares, and we went to a bunch of them. And one of the daycares we went to, we really loved. Beautiful place, multinational, different ethnicities and everything. And they had all this stuff going on. And as they're wrapping up their presentation, the lady says, we have these programs each month where we focus on one thing. Like right now, we're focusing on giving is better than receiving. And I almost yanked Cupcake's arm out of the socket trying to get the hell out of there when people were telling me giving is better than receiving. Because I bet that lady there giving that pitch was getting a paycheck, but she's telling me and teaching my kid that it's better to give than to receive. Baby, I need to get shit to be able to share it with you.
Yeah, there's the collectivism, not individualism message right there.
They're starting them young, bro.
Well, that's a key factor right there. And that's where, oh my God, if you think television is effective at brainwashing adults, it is like effective on steroids with children, because prior to from about age 7 and before, kids spend most of their life in the alpha brainwave state, which is a highly suggestible brainwave state. So, here's an example. Now I'm going to go completely left. And I bet we will have no listeners left after I say what I'm about to say. I'm going to piss everybody off. So I have an acquaintance who is a Scientologist, and he has been, what is the word, proselytizing me? Whatever that word is. Anyway, trying to convert me. It all starts with Dianetics, reading that pseudoscience book, and then they want to get you into auditing, and then it leads to Scientology. And he's been trying that for decades. Well, when I found out what it is they really believe, the space alien shit, that they came here on space crafts that look like DC-8s, and these thetans inhabit our body and everything, and yada, 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 I thought that is the most completely batshit crazy stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. And then a truth seeker will has the balls to evaluate what it is they claim they really believe and is not afraid to take those beliefs out of their crusty cranium and examine them and think, wait a minute, are these really my beliefs? If not, where did they come from?
Right.
So here we go. I'm going to piss everybody off. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, your guy's name is Ron? Ron. Your dude's name is Ron. Like here we have Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha and all these, and your guy's name is Ron.
A man of the people.
And not only that, like we've got historical precedents of this guy existing. Like, so he had a driver's license. He was a vacuum cleaner salesman. I am not making this shit up. He was a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman, a really good salesman. So like, that's their dude, Ron. And I'm calling their stuff batshit crazy until I started taking some long-held beliefs out of my head and think, now, wait a minute. I was taught to believe the deal that this virgin woman who'd never had sex produced a child, this magic kid who grew a beard and walked backwards on water, did the moonwalk before Michael Jackson, but did it on water, and was murdered and then came back 3 days later. When you really look at that logically, that is some batshit crazy stuff too. So what is the difference? Well, there's two things. First of all, that story has been around for thousands of years. So we've all had plenty of time to get accustomed to it. But the Scientology thing has only been around 50 years. So it still seems batshit crazy to everybody. But also, I was presented the Scientology story when I was an adult. I was presented the other story when I was a teeny tiny little kid. So the earlier you can get them, the much more effective the brainwashing is. And when you get them that young, it's brainwashing that really 99.999999999% of humans never overcome. So when you've got the best hypnotist in the world turned on and you've got young kids watching it, you are creating programs in their cranium that will last their entire lives. So not only are you messing up your brain, you're messing up your children's brain for future generations. They'll continue that process. So I don't mean to get all preachy, but what I'm saying is there's a small percentage of people, us'ns, who really are truth seekers, and we want to pull stuff out of our head and examine it. And the stuff that ain't serving us, we either want to change those beliefs or just completely toss them out. Or, like I said, replace them with new beliefs. So when you've got the best hypnotist in the world that produces heroin in your body and shuts down all your higher reasoning faculties so you can just mindlessly accept this programming, I think we maybe better start examining what it is we're watching. What are the underlying themes? What is the underlying message? You feel me on this one?
Not just that, but it's the idea of, we talked about it, I think, when we were talking about meditation, but just being aware, like, what are you doing when you're watching TV? Like for me, when I watch TV, it's to unwind and not think. So it's intentionally for that. And so, what I'm watching, hey, I accept it as real or whatever the hell's going on there, but I'm turning off. But some people watch the news and they watch documentaries and they watch all this stuff thinking that they're getting real information, and it might not be that way. So just having that awareness is a key, I think.
I agree. Having the awareness and knowing that your body, thanks to all these wonderful things, the heroin that it's producing, the shutting down your higher functioning brain parts and activating the limbic system, that your body's reacting as if this were a real event. Dude, I've had cancer. Okay. So I don't want that shit anymore. And I've seen my mom die a very slow, painful death from cancer. Actually, it was the cancer treatment that wound up killing her, but it was still a really horrific process. I don't want that shit. And those kind of reactions in your body do not promote health. I think the first week in the police academy, they told us Back then you could retire on a service pension after 25 years. And most of us got in, early 20s, 21. So here these guys are retiring in their mid 40s. And the statistics were 68% of the people who take a service pension are dead within 5 years or less. Well, they're dead because that kind of reaction in your body all the time, that fight or flight, that adrenaline dump after adrenaline dump and all the cortisol and all that stuff, time after time after time, numerous times throughout the day, weeks on end, months, years, is not conducive whatsoever to your health. And that's what can cause all kinds of weird mental illnesses, cancer. Hell, I think it's responsible for my back pain, all the emotional problems that came from that and the post-traumatic stress disorder. So why would any person in their right mind choose to put themselves through that by watching this programming? I do not know. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'm some holier than thou. There are times when I got to tell you that heroin dump feels pretty good. At the end of a long, stressful day, it's actually pretty nice to put on a comedy. Yeah. Give me a hit, man. I know I'm shutting down my brain, but just be aware of the message you're putting in there. And my God, be aware of the message you're exposing your kids to.
Man, deep stuff. Somehow we keep doing that. So that is a wrap for another Off the Chain show. Thank you, K9 Crew, for tuning in. Thank you, Doberman Dan, for taking us on this journey. We will be back next time. Thanks for listening. And remember, if you want to create rivers of revenue from your existing customers, then the next thing you need to do is go to DobermanDan.com. He's giving away a free copy of his $98 per month Doberman Dan letter just for listening to the show. Go to DobermanDan.com now and sign up for your free issue.
This is the podcastfactory.com.